Hello, welcome to Chapter 7, Generating the Draw. This chapter is about some of the most technically complex parts of the rodeo management system, but the good news is that handling the admin side of this is fairly straightforward. The code behind the draw generation is where the complexity is, but we'll handle that part. Let's step into the demo. To generate a draw, you will start at Rodeo Setup, Generate Rodeo Draw. Before you generate a draw, you want to make sure that you have all your entries entered into the system, that you've taken care of any duplicates, and that you've made any special arrangements that have to be made, and that everybody's ready to be drawn into their events. One thing that should be noted is that not all associations use all of the options available in the draw generation engine. We will point out where and when some of these features are not necessary as we go. RMS can draw up to 3 rodeos at a time simultaneously, but in most situations you will only run 1 draw at a time. So let's choose our demo rodeo. When we are running it for the first time, we need to always click Initialize Draw, and what this does is it copies over the information from the rodeo entrance into the draw file so that we can run the draw. So anytime that you have made changes to new entrants, you've added some people after you've ran a draw, you will want to reinitialize. So then we select rodeo, and the first option it will give us is to move all unassigned entries to Slack. So what this will do is that if you run the draw and you have limits set and there are entrants that do not make it into the draw, RMS will automatically move them into a Slack performance if one exists. Most associations do not use this unless it is a large professional rodeo association with multiple performances and usually Slack performances as well. And so this is a fairly complex feature, but when used, it can really reduce the amount of manual intervention you have to make afterwards. To assign priorities, simply click Assign Priorities to Entry Groups. In many rodeo associations, members are given priority placement due to rules within the association. The priorities apply to the entire group when entered as entry groups. The groups with the highest priority, 10 being the highest, will receive the highest priority placement. The groups with the highest priority will be placed first within the performance preferences of the group. The highest priority is 10. If your association does not use priorities, or if in your association rules all entrants will be placed in the rodeo draw, then skip this step, leaving these all at 0. When you have set priorities, and we'll just throw a few in here as examples. Now you'll notice that I have entered the same number 10 for some groups, and that's okay. And we'll explain that shortly as to how that factors into the system. We'll just enter a number of levels in here. And then we save. And once we have saved priorities, then we move on to the next setting, which is to set the maximum number of entrants by event. The max number of entries by event sets the maximum number of entries that can be placed in the event for that performance. And each performance can be set separately. Each performance can have a different maximum. When the maximum is reached for that performance, entrants will no longer be added to that event performance. So we can set, as I said, we can set these differently. Oftentimes, what an association will do is they will set the maximum number of entrants in a performance to a smaller number, and in a Slack performance, they may set that to a very large number so that anybody that does not get entered in the performance ends up in the slack. Once we have set these maximums, we click Save Max Settings, and then we scroll down below this and we simply click Generate the Draw. So one thing to mention here, if all entrants in your rodeo are to be placed in the draw, you can manage that either by setting the maximums to very high, or you can use this box here, which sets all max to unlimited. So once we have our maximum set, we will simply click Generate the Draw. So when you click the Generate the Draw button, that is where all of the complex math and randomizations and limits and priorities and sorting routines take place. Without getting into all the excruciating deal, the order of operation goes something like this. All groups within the highest priority levels are selected. Then their order is randomized. Rodeo Management System will then follow that random order and attempt to place all entrants in the group into all their events, into the group's first performance preference. If it is successful, it will move to the next group at that priority level. If it is not successful, because one of the events for the preferred performance has reached its maximum number of entrants, then it will attempt to place all the entrants in all events into the second preferred performance. If it is again unsuccessful, because an event performance has reached the max, the group will not be assigned to the draw. RMS will then continue through all groups with the highest priority, then move to the next priority level and continue attempting to assign all group entrants in all events to their first performance preference, then all group entrants in all events to the second performance preference. So it only takes one entrant in one event in the group that cannot be placed due to the maximum limit to prevent the entire group from being placed. An example of a two-performance rodeo would illustrate that either all group entrants will be placed in the first preference or all group entrants will be placed in their second preference, or they will be drawn out. They will not have a place in the rodeo draw. This keeps entry groups together within the same performance. If an entry group consists of only one entrant in multiple events, the system will attempt to place them in all events in one performance, then the other if not successful. Once all the placements have been completed, the run order within each event, within each performance, is then randomized. After the draw has ran, as you can see here, there will be a report of all entrants that were placed in all events, as well as a draw exceptions report if there were any entrants that did not get placed. There is also rodeo reports, draw exception reports, that you can look at after this screen is no longer available. So as we scroll down here, you can see these entries in this rodeo placed in this event, in this performance, in this order. And as we scroll down, the entire list of everybody that was placed is available here. So we do have some entrants, as we said, that did not get placed for one reason or another. Likely the event maximum has been exceeded, and so these groups were not, and as you see here, this is the same group number, so this entire group did not make it, likely because bull riding, and in this case this individual bull riding, the maximum was probably reached. So if at any time, if you want to rerun the draw, changing priorities or event performance maximums, you can scroll back to the top. And we've already initialized the draw, so we don't need to do that again, unless you have added other entrants to the draw since you last ran it, other entrants to the rodeo since you last ran it. We reselect the rodeo. We can go in and we can change priorities, or we can change maximums, and then we can generate the draw. And it will give us the same reports. And because there is a tremendous amount of randomization within the program, there will be different orders assigned to different members here. And as we get to the bottom here, we can see that there are some that didn't get assigned again, and likely these are groups with very low priorities and the maximums were filled. Now, an important note here says the draw is not yet visible to the public. So just because you ran a draw doesn't mean that anybody can see it. And so we have controls in place that allow you within Managed Rodeos that you can determine when you want to show the draw on the web. And again, these are the entrants that were not placed. And at any time, we can go to that draw exceptions report and we will see the same list. If you choose to rerun a draw, it is important to remember that the group priorities that you did set previously, they will be maintained. So you don't have to go back in and reset those priorities. But the placements into the performances as well as the run order will all be reset and redone. Once you have ran the draw, you can quickly go and have a look at the draw by selecting it in Draw Preview. And here is a view of the draw. This is the same view that the members would see, but as we said, we are in Draw Preview mode, so you are the only one that can see this because you have not yet made this draw available to be seen on the web. So if when looking through the draw, you see anything that you would like to change, anything you would like to adjust, then you can simply go to Rodeo Setup, Assign Entrance and Stock. And so in this mode, you would choose the rodeo, you would choose the event, and then there's a tremendous number of options here. We're going to look at simply the performance and the ordering settings here, and it allows you to manually adjust the order of people. So if we wanted to switch Dave, move him to first, and move test 3 to third, we simply make that change and submit, and now we've swapped around Dave and test 3. You'll also notice in performances here, this group is assigned to performance 1, this group is assigned to performance 2, and we can go and actually move people between performances. So we could actually move this person to performance 1, this person to performance 2, and now we have swapped them around. So one of the other features here, as you see, there are a number of buttons up here. We will be talking about those in a later chapter. But this close gaps button is a useful one. So if we happen to have a long list and we have somehow left some gaps in our order, and we choose the close gaps, it is going to go through, read through those performances and close those gaps so that everybody occurs in sequential order. There are also some options in this table below, or sorry, in this view below the table, and those will be dealt with in a future chapter as well. So if you want to work on a different event, you simply select that event and continue with whatever changes are necessary. For whatever reason you need to make changes, changing the order, that type of thing, that's obviously, changes happen, and so this is a convenient and quick way to make those manual changes as needed. When you are satisfied that you have made all the changes and the draw is ready for your members to see, we will then go to Rodeo Setup, Manage Rodeos, and choose the rodeo we are working on, and then we will simply click to this to show draw on the web, and we will go to the bottom of the form and we will save the setting that we just changed, and now you will see this new message here, a button for send email notification. So if you read the message, you have changed the rodeo draw to show draw on the web. Would you like to send an email notification to all your entrants in this rodeo? So if you click this button, it will do exactly that. It will send an email notification from your association to all of the members in this rodeo, telling them that the draw is now available online, and it will provide them a link to click that link and go and view the draw. And that will save people calling you, emailing you, texting you, asking if the draw is available. So that is a lot of information, and that is the end of Chapter 7. We will see you at Chapter 8.